All right, guys. So for this first lesson, we're going to be doing lessons 1 through 3 in this video. So we're talking about inequalities. Before break, all right, we were talking about how to solve equations, right? So it had that equal sign in it. So we may have had 2x equals 10, right? So for that, we would solve by dividing both sides by 2, and we would get x equals 5. Well, this equal sign, right, means that that's an equation. For this chapter, we're talking about something called inequalities. And inequalities you've seen for a very long time, all right, but we're just solving these inequalities and graphing them. So our target today says I can graph inequalities. An inequality is a statement that shows the relationship between two expressions with one of the following four signs. So we know here that this is less than or equal to, greater than or equal to. So down below, it shows what each of these symbols represents. This sign right here is less than. This sign right here is less than or equal to. This sign right here is greater than, and this sign right here is greater than or equal to. So if I say x is less than y, that means x is less than, so you can go ahead and write that, y. If I see this sign, all right, that's going that same direction with the line underneath it, that means x is less than or equal to y. So the only thing that's changing in there is that term equal to. If I see x and then this symbol with y, that means it's greater than. So x is greater than y. And if I have that line underneath, that means x is greater than or equal to y. So when we talk about solutions to an inequality, we're saying that that set of numbers that makes that inequality true. So we're trying to show that, hey, any of these guys would make that statement true. So example 1 says x is less than 5 means all numbers less than but not equal to 5. What are some numbers that work for x is less than 5? So let's think about it. If I ask you what are numbers that are less than 5? Well, 4, 3, 2, and 1, right? Well, if I were to ask you, okay, what about x is greater than or equal to 2? That means all numbers greater than or equal to 2 would work. What are some numbers that work for x is greater than or equal to 2? Well, I know 3 would work, 4 would work, 5, 100. Those are all numbers bigger than 2. But for this one, because we have the or equal to sign in there, 2 works, all right? Where for this example here, 5 would not work because they're asking me for numbers less than 5, but not equal to 5, all right? So that line underneath really is important. So this is when it gets fun, all right? When we talk about rules for graphing inequalities, all right, we're talking about a couple steps. Your first step is to always plot the point using an opened or closed circle. So if it's greater than or less than, our circle is always open. And if it's greater than or equal to or less than or equal to, our circle will always be closed. All right, so anytime we do not have that line underneath, our circle is opened. And anytime that line is underneath, meaning or equal to, it's closed. We're then going to shade the graph to the right or to the left, depending on which way our symbol is pointed. So if you have greater than or equal to, it goes to the right. If you have less than or equal to, it's going to go to the left. So let's look at number 1. Number 1 says x is less than 4. That means I need to go in and find 4 on my number line. So here I see 4. I'm going to go ahead, make a circle on 4. Up here, all right, it's step 1. It says anytime we have a greater than or less than sign, our circle stays open. Now we need to shade numbers that are less than 4. So since my sign is less than, right, it looks like this, my symbol, my inequality, that means I can technically draw this arrow here to show me which way I need to graph. This means any number to the left of 4 is less than 4. It makes that statement true. Now you might be saying, Ms. Swiderski, okay, this is easy. I get this. Why am I doing this? When you guys get to algebra, which is in a couple years, believe it or not, you're going to be doing compound inequalities. And I can show you guys a few examples of these on the board here later this week. But this is, again, just one of those building blocks that's going to help you in the long term, right? So for number 2, it says m is greater than 2. I know my circle is going to be open because it does not have that or equal to sign. So you're going to go in, put a circle on 2. All right, we need to look at that symbol, the greater than 2. So greater than is the symbol here. If I were to draw in an arrow, that means any number to the right of 2 would make that statement true. All right, for this next one, we have h is less than or equal to -1. This one, that or equal to, means my circle is going to be shaded. So I'm going to go ahead and go in to -1. And the reason why that's shaded is because -1 would make that statement true as well, right? So it says h is less than or equal to that. Well, less than equal to looks like that if I draw my arrow in. So any number to the left of -1 would make that statement true. So what we're doing by highlighting this is showing that, hey, any of these numbers would be true. Okay, so let's just say 0. Is 0 less than 4? Yes. Is -4 less than 4? Yes. Down here, when I have this shaded, I'm saying, okay, -1 is less than or equal to -1. So by shading it, we're including that number. This next one, we have b is greater than or equal to 0. So I know my circle is going to be shaded, and it's going to the right because it's or equal to. So any number to the right of 0, including 0, would be greater than or equal to 0. All right, let's try these down below. Number 1 says x is less than 2. Well, less than 2. So I need to find 2. Is my circle opened or closed? Well, it's going to be opened. And x is less than that. So that means any number to the left will make that statement true. Now, if you're kind of confused on which direction you need to go, I always look at that symbol and blow it up. So there's my symbol. Now, if you make an arrow, that's going to show you which way to shade. All right. So for number 2, it says x is greater than or equal to -4. I go in, I find -4. It's going to be a closed circle, and it's going to the right. All right. So this is graphing inequalities. I want you guys to go ahead and try number 3 and 4. Number 5 and 6 as well. And 7 and 8. All right. When you're done with that, go ahead and pause your screen. When you're done with that, I have the answers here for you showing up in 1 second. Hopefully you went in and solved 3 through 8 yourself. I went through and I created the answer keys, so you can go ahead and check your work. Here is number 3 and 4, 5 and 6, and 7 and 8. All right. So down below, when we're talking about writing an inequality, all right, we're basically writing that statement. So you have to start with the variable. You're going to decide which inequality symbol is on the graph, if it's opened or closed, and then end with the number. So when I do this, I always like to write this, x, my symbol, and then a number. So for number 1, it says x, my symbol. Well, I see that my arrow is going that way. So I'm going to take that sign, that less than sign, and I'm going to make it less than or equal to. Now, why did I do less than or equal to? Well, if I look at the -1, I see it's shaded, right? So anytime we have a shaded circle, that means the or equal to sign is in there. So this symbol has to be x is less than or equal to -1. Let's try the second one. I'm going to have x, some symbol, and then my number. Well, my number is 0. I see that my circle is opened, and my arrow is pointing that way, so that's greater than. So x has to be greater than 0. Down below it says you must be at least 16 to drive in Illinois. Well, let's think about it. If this is 0 and this is 16, I know that you have to be greater than or equal to 16 to drive. So that means at 16, my circle will be shaded and going to the right. Now, if I had an open circle and I said that x is greater than 16, that means that anybody who's 16 years old cannot drive, right? 16-year-olds can drive, so that's why I'm including the or equal to sign. The second one says babies 2 years or under can be in the Mom and Me swim class. So if I think about that, here's 0, here's 1, here's 2, here's 3. So I know I'll have X, babies that are 2 years or younger, or sorry, 2 years old or under. Yep. So X has to be greater than or less than 2. Again, they can be 2 on the dot. Okay. They can't be 3. They can be 2. They can be 1. They can be 0. And they can be in the mom and me swim class. So what I want you guys to do now is go ahead and start your homework. All right. Check out the homework calendar and we'll go from there. This next lesson is going to go over lesson 2, which is very similar to our previous lesson. So for lesson 2, all right, our lesson says I can solve one-step inequalities. This lesson is very similar to our equations unit, okay? But we're going to be talking about inverse operations again. So we're trying to solve for x. To do that, right, before break, we talked about the railroad tracks. And to get x by itself, I would do the opposite or the inverse of plus 7, which is minus 7. So if I subtract 7 from one side, I've got to do it to the other. So I get x is less than 23 minus 7 would be 23, 22, 20, 20, 19, 18. Right? So if I go in, I would say this is 0. I'll say this is 18. I'll say this is 9. I know that my circle would be open and it's less than that, so it's going to the left. So for the check, you're going to pick any number that works in that solution. So I'm going to pick 0 and plug it in. Is 0 plus 7 less than 23? Yeah, because 7 is less than 23, so I know it works. So again, you're going to pick any number that works in the solution and put that number in place of the variable in the equation to see if it works. All right, let's try this next one. I'm going to start by subtracting 14 on both sides. When I do that, I get y is greater than or equal to 15. So if this is 0, I'll say this is 15, which means half of that would be 7.5. All right, I'm going to go ahead, put my circle above 15 or on 15. I'm going to shade it in because it's or equal to, and I'm going to draw my arrow to the right. You can plug any number in. So I'm going to plug in any number that's shaded. I'll do 100. Is 14 plus 100 greater than or equal to 29? Yes, so I know it works. All right, this next one, I'm going to add 6 to both sides. So I get h is greater than 27. I'll say this is 27. I'll say this is 26. I'll say this is 28 and 29. My circle would be open at 27, and it's greater than, so it's going to the right. If I pick a number greater than 27, I'll say 100. I can plug that in for h. Is 100 minus 6 greater than 21? Well, is 94 greater than 21? Yeah. All right, let's try this next one. This one's a little bit different, right? So a lot of you will freak out. We talked about this before break, not freak out, but not like this because it's flipped. So what you can do is you can flip it back. But if I flip it back, you also have to flip the sign. So I'm going to get f minus 21. I need to flip the sign the other direction, is greater than or equal to negative 18. I'm going to add 21 to both sides. So I'll get f has to be greater than or equal to 3. And we'll work on some more examples like this here in class. So the circle is going to be closed, and it's going to the right. All right. So I'm going to have you guys go ahead and try numbers 1 through 6 on your own. Actually, 1 through 10 on your own. All right. Pause your screen. I'm going to go ahead and put the answers up here so we can make this 15-minute video. All right. So for numbers 1 through 6, here's what I got. Number 1, I added 8 to both sides. So I got x is greater than 31. Number 2, I subtracted 14 from both sides. So I got x is less than 48. Number 3, I added 9 to both sides. So you should get x is greater than negative 1. Number 4, I got x is less than or equal to 3.6. Number 5, I got x is greater than or equal to negative 25. Number 6, I got x is greater than 24. I don't know where 7 and 8 went, but hey, number 9, I added 5 to both sides, so you should get x is greater than 2. My circle is open, going to the right. And number 10, I subtracted 4 on both sides. I got x is less than 2. So these are lessons 1 and 2 for our inequalities unit.